All right, welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green, bringing you brand new rock interviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Cool content on the other days. Make sure you subscribe so you support the channel and you know when new interviews are coming up. Now today, we're going to have a good time with Terry Ilous from the band XYZ, former lead singer of Great White. He's going to tell us all about his brand new record, Hired Gun, right after this. All right, the show's called Wasting Time, but we're not going to waste any time. Here he is, Terry Ilous.
Hi.
Hey, Terry, good to see you.
Hi, Jason. Good to see you.
Yeah, so it's been a few years since we've seen each other. It's been a few years since anyone's seen each other.
Yes. A few years. That's right. It's great because I'm surrounded by animals. I have a five hen. What do I have? I have a goat. I have a sheep, turtle, dogs, cat. I mean, it's great. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that sounds perfect. That's the best company too.
Yeah, well, animals are, I don't eat meat. So I don't know. These animals, they bring something. Every time I see them, I'm so happy to see them. So it's wonderful. Yeah. So what's going on?
Well, so we're going to talk about your career a little bit.
Right.
We're going to go way back. So, I mean, I don't know if everybody knows your history and the history of your first band, your first band that became successful, XYZ.
Yeah.
So, Terry, you're from France originally. Tell me a little bit about growing up in France and also how you figure out that you're going to be a singer.
Ooh, well, I'm French Spanish. My ancestors were also from Spain, from Barcelona. I was raised in France. What else can I say? France is not exactly the right place if you want to be an artist, put it this way. The best place to become an artist is definitely America, by far, because here we embrace culture, that type of culture, the art, whether it's music or painting or anything to do with entertainment, acting, theater. So this is wonderful. As far as that, being in America is wonderful. So it was a bit difficult for me because I grew up and I wanted to be a singer, and people used to laugh at me all the time, saying, "How can you become a singer? Well, are you going to make any money or whatever?" So I was bullied quite a lot actually when I was a kid. I was the kid that everybody would want to bully and or make fun at. Even my teachers, my principal, they used to make fun of me because I had long hair at the time, which is not really French looking. I looked more like a gypsy actually, due to my dad being Spanish. I had dark hair and long dark hair like yours actually, except all curly. And so that was rough growing up in France, trying to prove my point. And eventually I met a gentleman when I was a kid. I met Pat Fontaine. We were young, very young, and Pat convinced me to record a demo for him. He had this idea of a band called XYZ. That was his idea. And he said, why don't you sing a song? I said, nah, I'm not interested in doing that. It's not going to happen. So he paid me, gave me a lot of money, actually. What seems to be a lot of money. I'm sure it was peanuts, but at the time I was like, oh my God, he's giving me $20. It's a lot. Anyway, I did 4 songs for him, an EP. And the EP caught the attention of a lot of people. And Pat decided to come to the United States on his own. He was 18 years old or 19. And he called me one day. He said, hey, man, we have a record deal here. We have everything going on here. Women, we're rock stars, blah, blah, blah. Would you like to come to Los Angeles? I'm like, music, women, rock stars, cars, yeah. So I came to Los Angeles with my suitcase, one guitar, and $500 in my pocket, thinking it was a lot of money. Right. That's all I had. And Pat picked me up in an old Chevy Nova from the 70s. The windows didn't roll down. I remember that well. It was really hot. I was like, what the heck? And the car was all beat up and everything. And I said, I thought you were a rock star. He said, nah, I was lying to you. I have no record deal. I have nothing. And we're going to go sleep in a hotel in Long Beach. That was it. And that was the beginning of our career. And then we moved to New York. We slept in a 1970 whatever estate wagon, a big estate wagon, the one that they had in the movies back then. And Pat and I used to go out and pick up the chicks, telling them that we said, oh, we live in Manhattan or whatever. Of course, what we did is we slept in the car. So we parked the car in front of the club, said, this is where we live. And girls didn't expect anything. So I said, why don't you go come with us to let's have a party. So Pat would be up front, I would be in the back, and with the girl, of course. And they were saying, okay, well, let's go. Like, we're home, honey. That's why we lived in the car.
Technically,
yeah, we already had a big station wagon. So we stayed in New York for a little while until the car got towed because we had so many tickets. So we decided to come to Los Angeles, and the rest is history, kind of.
Yeah, well, what a wild way to start. And, you guys were kind of considered one of the unofficial house bands of the Whiskey. You were playing there so much. How does that happen for a young band?
Well, we were always I love the Whiskey. The Whiskey's got such a history. Mario was a wonderful guy. Lou Adler at one point loved us. Lou Adler was the co-owner of the Roxy, different theaters in Los Angeles, and also was the manager of Cheech and Chong. Yeah. He did the movie Cheech and Chong. He did a lot of things. He used to have a label on A&M Records, and he kind of liked us, our sense of humor, and we were kind of obnoxious, but our sense of humor is kind of a bit different than a lot of people, and we were kind of pushy, and he liked that, our attitude. So he managed us for a little while, and then Mario and his nephew said to us, you have a big draw, would you like to do more shows for us? We'll pay you, not much, but we'll pay you. So we became the unofficial house band of the Whiskey. There was 3 unofficial bands ever, and I want to say that clearly. There was the Doors. Right. The Doors were the unofficial house band. Motley Crue, okay, unofficial house band, and XYZ, and that's it.
That's not bad company.
Yeah, there's only 3 bands that ever became. We had to play the Whiskey twice a month, but every time we played, it was sold out. It was packed. We had so many. 80% of our crowd was mostly women, and it was wild. It was wild, So it was a lot of fun,
Yeah, for a kid from France, that's not a bad way to break into the States.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jason, it's just like I was a kid in a candy store. I couldn't believe that. I grew up in a very sheltered life. My parents were pretty religious, to say the least. My parents are still very religious, so I grew up kind of in a religious environment, and here I am coming to Los Angeles and seeing all the girls who were wearing miniskirts in the 80s, and girls were wild. And, if you remember the 80s, I think you're a bit younger than I, by 6 months maybe, and girls were pretty wild, and, Guns N' Roses was playing The Strip, Poison, Warrant, all those bands, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was like, oh my God, all these girls, and the fun was so much fun. The Strip was just like, you would never be able to recreate that, to put it this way. It was just amazing.
Yeah, and so talk a little bit about how you guys go about getting your record deal, because everyone was looking for one. There wasn't enough to go around, so you guys are one of the lucky few who gets one. So talk a little bit about that.
Well, thank you. We tried to get a record deal. Didn't work out. We were passed on by every record company. We almost had a record deal with Atlantic Records, but they passed on us last minute. They said, no, we're not interested. In fact, Paul Stanley was supposed to produce the album. We met with Paul. I really like Paul Stanley. He's a great artist and great human being. So Paul was supposed to produce the album, and we got dropped. Atlantic Records said we're not interested. So we're kind of depressed, and we didn't know what to do. Everybody was getting signed. It was 1988. Everybody was getting signed but XYZ. And we had honestly one of the biggest draw. What I mean by the biggest draw is shows were sold out all the time, whether it was the Whiskey or the Roxy or the Country Club, yet we couldn't get a record deal. So uh, my good friend Pino Bavarese, the Italian guy Pino, was still is a really good looking Italian, handsome guy, and he was riding his bike on the Sunset Strip, and he lost a glove. Okay, he lost a glove, and behind him there was this girl, two girls actually. One of them was well, I can't name her because I don't want her to say anything. But anyway, well, actually, yeah, it's my friend Sarah, Sharon Sarah. We're still good friends. She's one of my closest friends these days. So Sharon picked up the glove and she looked at Pino, such a handsome Italian guy, and said, "Hey, you lost your glove. You lost your glove." So Pino is Italian. What do you think happened? He sees a beautiful woman. He's like, "Hey, thank you very much. Why don't we have a drink? Let's go to Ben Frank's and have a drink." Of course, he's Italian. So they go and have a drink, and she said to him, I'm in the music business. I work for a record company called Enigma Records. And Pino, of course, being my good friend, immediately get in touch with me. I didn't have a phone back then. We had a what do you call that? Those beeper.
Answer machine. Oh, yeah, a beeper.
A beeper. So he beeped me. He said, "Come over right away. Bring a tape." I'm like, "Okay, you got it." So I go to Ben Frank's, give her a tape. Didn't expect much. And then the next day, I get a phone call from Curtis Beck, head A&R at Enigma Records, who said, "We really love you guys. We want to sign you." And funny enough, Enigma Records was the only label we did not approach.
Wow.
True story. We didn't approach them because they were an indie label. They were small. And I said, who the heck wants to work with an indie label? So we did, and they gave us, we asked ridiculous requisite. We asked for $500,000. We asked for limousines. We asked for so many things, and they gave us everything. Everything. I mean, it was a dream come true, and then I couldn't believe that. And then we got a record deal, and then Don Dokken produced the album.
Yeah, that was the thing. And Don Dokken, a lot of these guys you mentioned, like Paul Stanley, everyone was looking for these younger bands to sort of get involved with. Paul Stanley was looking at Guns N' Roses. Everyone's looking for something. And so Don Dokken, takes a liking to you guys. And so what is it like? What is his input like making this record? I mean, he's already a big star at this point.
Yeah, at the time, Don Dokken was a big star. Don was a big star. What I liked about Don is he's a songwriter. First of all, he's a really good singer. He's a really good songwriter as well. Let's not forget that. And he plays guitar and things. So I was excited to be working with him. We worked with somebody else for a short period of time named Frankie Sullivan from Survivor. Yeah. Great songwriter as well. But for some reasons that didn't click. There was things that didn't happen. I don't recall exactly what happened, but it didn't work out. So we worked with Don Dokken, and Don helped us more or less to rearrange the band a little bit. I mean, we had all the songs ready. Put it this way, everything. When we gave the demos to the record company, everything was finished. Don changed a couple of things and added his backup vocals on the album, which surprised me. There was Don Dokken everywhere, but it's okay. But that's a production, and nothing you can do about it. We were young, we got paid a lot of money. We were inexperienced, and we were working with rock stars, and that's when I met Great White. I met so many other, Motorhead. Everybody used to come to the studio all the time to hang, and I'm a kid from France, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm seeing all these rock stars, Night Ranger, all those guys used to come to the studio, and because Don is a very popular guy, so it was a great experience.
Well, it's the American dream, and you set out with the goal to do it and the dream to do it, but then you come here, and the next thing you know, all these people around you, and it's got to be overwhelming. You're on a record, you got a famous producer, you're playing these sold out shows, yeah. So the record comes out, and you guys go on tour with Ted Nugent, which is, I'm sure at the time, is a pretty big tour, right?
We played the Cobo Hall, was 19,000 people, sold out. Everywhere we played was sold out. Ted Nugent was a mega star back then, and we were doing Detroit, Indiana, all these places, Ohio. So Ted Nugent is extremely popular over there, especially back then.
Yes.
So venues were very big. We were playing with him. Then we played Dallas Cooper. Then we hooked up with Foreigner. Um, for me, it was a dream come true. It was a bit overwhelming, to be honest with you, and which led to different things that happened in my life eventually later on. But yeah, it was overwhelming. I have to say that I didn't know how to handle all that, and we were very popular. We had a great publicist. Lisa Gladfelter was amazing publicity behind XYZ, and I had a wonderful time. I mean, I wish that on all the artists out there listening to my interview today, I wish them all the success, and because it's a lot of fun. It's a very rewarding when you come from a different country, especially, and you get to you get the American dream, which is amazing. America is an amazing country,
Yeah, and so this record spawns a single "Inside Out," which got some MTV play and radio play, and became is a pretty popular song, and just what a band needed. You had to get on MTV, you had to get on Headbangers Ball, you had to do those things. Mm-hmm. So talk a little bit about you do get you get two singles out, but the record doesn't go probably where you would have liked it to go. But now competition is insane at this point. So tell me what you think might have been going wrong.
Well, there's not really nothing going wrong, Jason. What happened is we were on a small label. We were on Enigma Records, which is a very small label. We were lucky to sell as many albums as we've sold worldwide. We did very well. But we knew there would be a pick. We knew that eventually, the way it works is a pay to play. The way it works is if you want to be on the radio, it's very simple. You have to pay. I know a lot of people, radio programmers say, oh, no, it's not true. Of course it's true. Come on, give me a break. If you want to be on the radio, you have to pay one way or another, whether you give them a gift or whether you send directly cash to their bank accounts or whatever. So Enigma Records, God bless them, and the Bill Hine brothers who formed the label, didn't have a lot of money. So we did what we did. And the fact that we had such a great publicist helped us a lot. Lisa was a wonderful working the band, but we did okay. We did great. And then we got signed to Capitol Records, bought the band because Enigma didn't have any more money, so.
Did you have any other rock label mates at Enigma?
Did I have any what? I'm sorry?
Were there any other rock bands on the label at that time?
Yeah, Poison was on. But Poison immediately, as soon as they went gold, Capitol came in and swallowed them right away. Believe it or not, there was another label called Green something. I forgot. Green. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name. But Great White was on it also, which is interesting actually. Great White, Hurricane were on the label as well. And Enigma Records, they didn't have a lot of money. Back then, you have to realize that nowadays everybody wants to go with an indie label, okay? So people need to understand that nowadays the cool thing to do is to go with an indie because indie labels are supposed to be helping you to be behind the artist, as of major labels only care about the major stars. Well, back then, nobody wanted to be with a small label. I mean, going with Enigma Record, people said, are you kidding? They're not going to give you any money. They're not going to give you anything. But actually, it worked out okay. We did very well. I mean, I once in a while, I still talk to Bill Hine, and I thank him for giving us a shot, so.
Yeah, because it could go the other way. You could sign with a big label, but they have so many artists that you could get lost in the shuffle. And they could sign you just because they don't want you to sign to somebody else as competition. So sometimes having more focus can help. So, okay, so you guys are out there, you're promoting that record, and you're doing it in a kind of grassroots way, the best that you can. And so second record comes out. This is 1991.
Uh-huh.
And this is Hungry right here.
Yeah.
And so talk about now what you're thinking going into this record.
On particularly this record, I wanted to bring an update on the sound. Live, the band was always more raw. Before we recorded the album with Don, the band was was very raw. We didn't have all these big harmonies and everything. I mean, I love all that stuff, but we were just a blues rock band, and when we went did the first album with Don, the band became more polished, which is a good thing. I mean, we did very, very well, so I'm grateful for that. But second album, I wanted more of a raw sound, and things were changing anyway in the music industry. Nirvana was already getting so much attention, although those bands were getting attention, so we wanted to be more raw. And because you have to understand, we were never considered a hair band type of things. I have never worn spandex in my life. You know, I mean, it's never happened to me. So we're not a spandex kind of band. We were more a mixture of, I don't know, a bit Van Halen for the guitars, a bit Judas Priest for the vocals and the bars and everything. But we're not exactly like a Poison type of band, or which I respect, by the way, but we're not that type of band, you know. So second album was produced by George Tutko, and the album was very ballsy and raw, great sounding album. And fortunately for us, when we released the album, MTV made it clear that our first single, Face Down in the Gutter, they didn't like the video because they had too many women in the video, which is kind of strange because after that, rap came along, and rap started to show women's asses and boobs and everything. But it was okay because they were rappers, but it was not okay because we were rock and roll guys, and at the time, rock was dying already, you know.
Right.
So
they didn't want to play that. They didn't play that video, right?
They did. They did play it for a while. They did play it for, yeah, Ricky Rackman used to play it a lot. Ricky was cool. And he used to play the video quite a lot on Headbangers Balls and everything, but they were not giving us a major treatment because at the time, rock was already out. I mean, people wanted to play Nirvana. The people not anymore. They were nobody liked rock at the time. Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, all those bands were on their way out, you know. So it happened to us as well. Yeah.
Now, so talk a little bit about, you know, we're jumping around, but talk a little bit about what happens after XYZ for you. Does the band decide to break up? What happens next?
Well, for many years, I stopped working in the music industry. For many years, I stopped, and I was kind of lost. I have to be honest with you. I was kind of lost. I didn't have any. I lost most of my money, and I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have anything, so I was very depressed, and I suffered depression. And depression has always been with me. So that was a very difficult years for me. For about 8 to 9 years, I was really I was not doing too well, put it this way. And after that, are you around? I don't see you anymore. Are you still around, right?
Yeah. We're just just a solo shot of you, yeah.
Okay, so for a few years I was kind of depressed. I was taking medication and things like that, and didn't do well. I was working at a bar. I was managing a bar. It was this interesting 10 years of my life, and then I went back and I did voiceover. I started to do the Rugrats and all those voiceover. I had all these voiceover gigs, and I did well with that because I booked a bunch of voiceover gigs. And then 2 or 3, I released an album on my own called A Letter to God, because at the same time, my wife at the time was pregnant and the baby died. And that was a big thing for me. So, and my dad died at the same time. So I was like, wow, my career is down. My baby died. My dad just passed at the same time. I was pretty harsh. I wrote a song called Letter to God with a friend of mine, J.K. Northrop, and released the album, did very well, and then slowly got more into singing more and doing other things, and then I got picked up by Great White.
Yeah, so great. That's about 2008. Did you start with Great White?
2009, yeah.
2009, yeah. And so Great White was going through issues, obviously. They had for a long time with Jack Russell.
Right.
They had personal issues. They had legal issues. And eventually they were one of the first bands to kind of settle the 2-band thing. Jack Russell was allowed to call it Jack Russell's Great White and make some money. And the other 3 guys, Mark Kendall, Michael Lardy, Audie Desbrow, would hold on to the Great White name. And they had tried different singers. They tried Janie Lane, who incredibly talented guy, but a troubled guy, and probably not the best choice when you've just came out of a relationship with a singer who's troubled. So unfortunately, Janie passed away. They tried a few other guys here and there.
Paul Shortino.
Paul Shortino, yeah, he came in pinch hit for a gig or two. And
yeah, Paul's great.
He's great. Yeah, and so how does it come to you?
Oh my God! How did it come to me? We have the same agent, Sullivan Big, who's a great agent, great '80s agent. Sullivan is a hustler, and he was representing XYZ at the time. We were doing shows. We're getting, we got M3. We got a bunch of shows. People liked us all of a sudden, and then Jack, unfortunately, couldn't sing or left the band. I'm not exactly sure what happened, but so I get a phone call from Jack, from Sullivan in 2009, telling me, hey, would you be interested in doing a show with another band? And I'm like, well, it depends who, He said, Great White is looking for a singer for one gig. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do a gig, So I learned, I had basically 1 day to learn 9 songs. And was not very good, and I did what I could, and I got on stage with a Great White, and I did my best, and then that was it for a little while. They said, okay, thank you, bye, and then a few months later they had the same problem again with Jack being ill, and they called me. They said, would you be interested in doing more dates with the band? And I said, yeah, I would be interested. I didn't think much of it. Meaning, I love the music, I love the band, absolutely, and Jack's a great singer. But I didn't think they would hire me. I was like, chances are so small, So I'm just a Band-Aid, like their what do you call that? Their agent used to call me, says, Terry, you're just a Band-Aid, so you're just here for a little while, and that's it. Okay, so I did what I could, and I was happy to do so. But
you were sort of used to that, though. You've pinch hit before. Bands needed a singer. I brought you out to Vegas to sing. Our singer went to join Slash, and we needed somebody to do some shows. Sullivan again, first guy. I got it, Terry. So you were sort of used to stepping in and filling into things.
Yeah, and I'm a very humble person. I don't think I was humble, and I was grateful to be there, and. I did what I did, and the shows were kind of small at first. As far as the audience was kind of small, people were very, how can I say? I think replacing a singer is a very difficult thing, and Jack is an iconic singer with a great voice. There's no doubt about that. He's a great singer. So replacing Jack was not an easy task. Put it this way. And at first, people were like, well, Terry, XYZ, yeah, he's a good singer too, but he's not Jack Russell. And it doesn't matter how good I could be, I would never be Jack Russell. Same way that, could you replace, I don't know who else, I'm not going to name any singers, but it's very difficult to replace a singer. It doesn't matter if you bring somebody better, he's never going to be as good as the original singer, for most people, put it this way. And I respect that. So I did what I could, and then all of a sudden, people started to react in a very positive way because I was giving a nice positive message as well. I never said to the world, oh, I'm better than Jack or anything like it. I always said, well, Jack's a great singer, and singing those songs, it's not an easy task. And then we went from smaller venues to big venue to bigger venue. Then we did shows in front of 40,000 people in Florida. 10,000 people in Wisconsin. I mean, there was a lot of big shows. The average show was about 3,000 to 5,000 people. It was great. I mean, the band went from here to there, and we released 3 albums. I co-wrote pretty much every song, and lyrics and music. And
you guys rebuilt that brand. It went, like you said. It was an interesting time, but the Great White brand, you guys were playing with Slaughter a lot, opening, and it became the thing to see, and it was selling out a lot of shows. Yeah. And obviously, and like you said, it's a difficult thing to step into, but you did it, and it seemed to be working. So here's the album Elation. This came out in 2012. Yeah, and so at this point, obviously, they're now committed to you. They made you kind of be the maybe guy for a while, the touring guy, and now okay, they're committed to have you be on this album and co-write this album.
Yeah, I co-wrote every song as far as music and lyrics, and some of the songs were actually not in this particular album, but the one after that. Some of the songs were actually written by J.K. Northrup and I. I brought the song to the band, saying, "Here it is," and then the band added a chord like this or whatever, and that was it. The song was written, or maybe a lyric change from Lottie here and there, but that's about it. There's a few songs, 4 songs of that album, of the Full Circle album, were actually written just J.K. and I. So I was excited. It was an exciting time. It was a very positive time. I had a wonderful time with Great White. The fans were very receptive, and I always made sure that I would sing the songs the right way, meaning respecting the melodies, but also not being a clone. I would never be a clone. Nobody's clone. That's my thing. I can't be a clone. I have to be myself. I always say, I'm Terry Ilous. This is what I say all the time. Now, I don't say that in a pretentious way. I say that this is who I am. My name is Terry Ilous. I'm not anybody else but me. I'm not better than anybody else, by the way, at all. I just believe that one has to, yes, this album's great. I think you have to be yourself. So I was being myself, and I sang the song the right way, always paying homage to Jack, the previous singer, but singing the song with a little twist, which is, the right way to do it, I think. I don't want to be a clone.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and these albums were received well. And I think in some ways they built a different audience. Maybe people who were younger, or maybe people who just were giant Great White fans, or maybe people who were ready to try a different version, really seemed to enjoy it. And because you can tell when you guys played these songs at your own shows, they were becoming very requested. And that's shows the strength of the rebuild of that brand. One of the things about Great White that maybe not everybody knows is we're talking about songwriting, that Alan Niven, who was the original manager, and for Guns N' Roses as well, he really wrote the majority of the songs. Michael Lardy as well, and Mark Kendall. I know these guys contributed, but Alan Niven was sort of maybe the essential songwriter. And so it's got to be a little strange to go into a band writing in a different way for them.
It was. I think at first they were. I remember very well when Kendall, on the first album we worked together, he wrote a song, a blues song, and it's called Lowdown. And he said, "Well, here's the song, and here's the melody and the lyrics." And he gave me everything. And I looked at him. I'm like, "Okay, let me go home and I'll get back to you tomorrow." And I came back the next day with lyrics and a complete different melody. And he was not used to that, because he used to work with Alan Niven, who used to say, "Well, this is it, and that's it. Okay, and sing the song, Jack," or whomever was actually working on the track. I came back with my own lyrics and my own melody and arrangement. And I will never forget Mark Kendall's face. He looked at me first. He was puzzled. He was like, "What the heck?" And then he listened to it again. He was like, "Oh my God, this is great. This is great." Lowdown was actually one of his favorite songs. I changed the melody. I went more bluesy, and it was a great experience working with them. I mean, it was also a great experience for me, because I was used to work with J.K. Northrup or Pat Fontaine as a lyricist, or other people when I did music for film and TV. And working with Lottie and Kendall was different. It was a great learning experience as well. So, the whole process was a positive thing, put it this way. I mean, there's some good things and bad things, of course, like like when you go through a band, but it was a good positive thing.
Yeah, and now also joining a band like Great White, there is a stigma that is very hard to ignore. The tragedy that happened in Rhode Island. This is something that none of Mark Kendall was there playing with Jack's solo band essentially, but the other members of Great White were not there, and obviously you were not there. But it is always an issue. As much as you want to try to move on and make it about music, it's difficult. I interviewed Mark, and you get some people who are very upset, and there's nothing that you can do to change that, and it's a very understood thing. Was that stigma difficult for you at times? That association.
Of course, I remember. I wasn't there, of course, in 2 or 3 when that happened. But I'm a parent. Okay, I have a kid, so I understand, and I understand. And I've lost a child once in my life, so I felt really close to some of the people, and when I found out that a lot of kids died that day, and it was a dramatic moment in the music history, but dramatic moment for those parents. So I didn't know how to react to the fact that I was now the lead singer of the band, but I just played it. I was quiet about it, put it this way. I never said much about it. However, believe it or not, every year I used to go to Rhode Island and do a charity event for a friend of mine named Wayne Morrison. And every year I used to play in Rhode Island, and nobody said anything to me. I did meet some parents who came to me and said, "You're the singer for Great White?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I was expecting it to be punched in the face. Mm-hmm. And then and people said, "Thanks for being here. I know you have nothing to do with it." I says, "No, I don't. And I'm a parent as well. So I really feel, for you." And I was sincere about it, It was a difficult thing for the band. Mark and the rest of the guys are traumatized by that, but the parents are the one extremely traumatized more than anything else. Jack, of course, So difficult time for the band, and, amazing tragedy, to say the very least.
Absolutely. And it does say a lot about your ability to brand that band and move it forward, not to diminish the events of that tragedy, but the band Great White continues and music continues. And so not an easy time, but
not an easy time. I think, one of the things that I can tell you is one day we did a show on the Masters of Rock cruise, and this girl was there, and I looked at her, and she was burnt. Her arm, right here, she was burnt, half of her face, her neck, and I didn't know what to say to her. And eventually, she looked at me. She said, "I was there," and I said, "Where?" She said, "I was at the fire that day." And I looked down. I didn't know what to say. I said, "I'm so sorry." She said, "It's okay. It's not the band's fault." Blah blah blah. So I said, "Okay." And I looked at her. She said, "I'm so happy you're the new singer. So thank you." And she said, my favorite song is "Save All Your Love." I'm like, "Oh, it's a beautiful song." And she said, "I'm a singer too." I'm like, "Really?" So I looked at her. I said, "Would you like to come on stage and sing a song with me?" And she said, "Yes." So I brought her on stage, and she sang "Save All Your Love" with me. And there was a really touching moment. I'm telling you something, Jason. On the cruise ship, there's a lot of noise. People are, laughing and cheering up and everything. When her and I sang that song, the entire audience was quiet and speechless. And I'm telling you one thing, so many people were crying. I couldn't hold myself. I had to cry just like everybody else, because it's such a difficult moment for me as a singer. But the other people, I saw so many big guys, biker looking guy crying, because it's a tragedy. And I thought, in a way, I was trying to help. I did it in a very humble way, in a very genuine way, by bringing her on stage. That was my way of saying, I wish I could do more, but this is it,
Well, and probably created a great moment for her and some of the other survivors and families as well.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, these people were Great White fans. That's why they went to a Great White concert. The rest of what happened is, unfortunate and out of everybody's hands. But so let's talk about a little bit more about Great White. So in 2017, this is what I find a little interesting. You put out your record. You put out a solo record. And so I want to get my dates right here. But it looks like you put out the record Gypsy Dreams, which is a record of cover songs. Did you put this out in May of 2017? Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
May 15, 2017.
So here's that record. Okay.
Oh,
was there any issue with Great White with you putting out your own record?
Well, here's what happened. I started working on that album in 2016, okay? And I've always told the band I was working on the album. there's nothing to hide because I didn't have a problem. Why would anybody have a problem with a band member releasing a solo album? It's especially if it's not the same type of music anyway. So I come from this school where it's good to do other things. You have to branch out. I work with a lot of different musicians. I've worked with musicians of bands of AC/DC. I've worked with members of Guns N' Roses, David Bowie. I've worked Stevie Wonder. I worked with a lot of different people in my career as a backup singer or voiceover or whatever. So for me, it was no big deal. And I asked the band's permission. I said, "Is it okay?" He said, "Yeah, you can do your own thing." Great, fantastic. So we're in 2016. I do a GoFundMe kind of thing, to raise money for the album. So it was online. There was no thing. And all of a sudden, toward the end of 2016, the band says to me, Great White's gonna do a new album. I'm like, oh really? Okay. So let's get ready to write. So I went back, started writing songs and everything, Same time I was finishing my own album, I was like, okay, it's great. And then I made an announcement. My album's going to come out May 15th. And the band has a meeting with me and says, you can't release your album. I'm like, why? Well, you can't release your album because we're going to release our album at the end of the month. I'm like, well, what should I do? She said, no, you can't release it. And that was it. So that created a big stigma in the band, a big issue. Especially because I was working, the band I was working with, mostly Latin people. So there was a problem, I'll put it this way, and that started to create issues between myself and the guys in the band. Not everybody in the band, by the way, but some people in the band were upset about that. I was doing a lot of interviews, and I've always said one thing. I said, I am the lead singer of Great White. My priority is Great White. I always made sure to say that because I didn't want any, sometimes people, they can misinterpret what you want to say. So I said, no, I am the lead singer of the band Great White. My priority is Great White. I'll be touring with Great White. And if the band is not touring, then I will be doing that on my own. And that's it. And that is the truth. But apparently someone got upset. And then I was touring. And eventually one day I received an email saying, thank you for a great service. You're a great singer. Have a good life. And that was it.
So you have no idea that they're going to replace you or ask you to leave until you get this email.
I had no idea at all. Last time we did a string of sold out shows. In fact, one of the last show we did was actually on a Thursday in Wisconsin. We did a Summerfest and we had 10,000 people. The crowd went crazy. 10,000 people going nuts. I'm like, wow. And that day I sang so well. I was like, sometimes you sing better than other days. It's the way it is as a singer. But that day I was really good. I was like, not to be pretentious, but I was happy. It was like, oh man, a great performance. Friday, Saturday, we did 2 other shows. One in Las Vegas at the Cannery, the Cannery Club or whatever Cannery.
The Cannery's in it. East Side Cannery is the name of the casino. Yeah. Yeah,
we did a show with a Slaughter, and everybody gave me a big hug. Hey, brother, see you next week. Great, see you next Friday, next Thursday. That's the last time I talked to anyone in the band. On Monday morning, I get an email.
Who sends the email?
Jack Russell. No, sorry, man. Sorry, Jack. No, sorry, Jack. The band itself. The band.
Okay, but is it signed by all of them, or does Mark Kent?
Yeah, well, the leader of the band, Mark, sent me the email. Says, but it's on behalf of everybody in the band. We think that you should be replaced by somebody else, and we wish you the best. The email was polite. We wish you the best. Good luck to you, and you'll have no problem finding another band. And please don't say bad things about us. We will never say bad things about you. And that was it.
So you read the email and you say, I'm not going to say anything bad about those guys, but they're all a bunch of pricks. Just kidding. And
I just say that I was surprised. Sure. I was really surprised because I said, wait a minute, I did 3 albums. I helped rebuild the brand. I gave my best for 9 years. I did, I decided to, when I joined the band, I was not getting paid very well. And I said, I'm going to do it anyway because I want to prove myself and I want to prove to those guys that I can do it. So I did what I could do, and I would have loved to get a phone call, or at least, or maybe a meeting with the band, and said, "Hey, Terry, it's not working out. Can you work on this? Maybe we'll give you another chance." Okay, I think it's fair when you're a dedicated worker and you do all that stuff. I think it's fair. You need a second chance, but second chance for what? I didn't do anything wrong. You know what I mean? It's not like Jason. It's not like I had sex with any one of their wives.
Right. It wasn't that kind of a drama. But
no, I'm not that kind of person.
Did you feel that there was personality differences? I mean, for me as a bit of an outsider, but I did do some work with you guys in Gray White, and I am friends with Mark as well. I feel like maybe the personalities, because I don't think people can see it, Terry, that nowadays it's not like the old days where you have a big tour bus and everyone goes their own way and the separate and the crew and the big thing. You guys, Great White especially, is just those 5 guys, and everyone has their own role to do. One guy's doing the sound, one guy's doing the merch, one guy's handling the catering, and you're stuck together. I remember going to shows where you guys are going to jump in a car or van, and you're going to sit in that car for 8-9 hours. Really crazy times. And there are different personalities in that band. So did you feel at times this is trying and maybe it's not working out?
I didn't. For me, I was always a Great White. I would say to myself, Great White is Great White. I love the band. I love the music, and I'm happy to be in the band. I didn't expect anything. I knew I had an issue with one guy in the band, like a lot of people have issues with the same guy in that band. But I knew that, but I didn't think the guys would decide to say, screw Terry and let's get somebody else. I didn't expect that at all. I was completely taken by surprise, to say the least. I was beside myself, but I didn't post anything negative. I didn't send make stupid comments online. I didn't do anything like it. I said, well, it is what it is. And, they had somebody else, don't wish them anything bad, which I would never do it anyway. And,
well, I find that interesting, Terry. So they brought in, Mitch Malloy, and what's interesting is there's a video of him singing on stage with Great White. Was that very close to the end?
No, very close to the end. But what happened? I'm the one who introduced Mitch to the band, and I would never forget that day. I introduced Mitch to the band, and Mitch tried to outstage me on stage. I know I'm a stage performer, but I don't need to overly do things.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And it's like sex. Music is sex. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? You don't need to try all different positions to please your partner. You do what you do and that's it. You know what I mean? But I realized that Mitch was trying to go crazy on stage, one side of the other, to prove that he was a great performer. And I have nothing against Mitch, by the way, wish him the very best. But I said, okay, why not? Good for him, I didn't expect that. In fact, I was about to work with his wife as my manager. It's just a funny thing about it. I was talking to her because I was looking for a manager. I just didn't know that behind my back, everything was being said and done. I had no idea. It happens. It happened to a lot of bands. It happened to Sammy Hagar. It happened to we don't know the circumstances. We don't know what happened, and why someone would get fired. We don't really know. What I can tell you honestly from the bottom of my heart is I never screwed anybody's wife. I never stole any money. I never said anything bad. One thing I can tell you is I speak my mind. And that's one thing. I'm a very calm person. But I have a temper. I'm a martial artist. I've always been a martial artist. So don't push my button. I'm cool. But if you push me, I will hit you. It's the way it is. But I was raised in the ghetto, put it this way. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm from the ghetto. But anyway, the thing is with Great White, I didn't expect that. It's okay. They did what they had to do. And honestly, to this day, I don't wish him anything bad at all. I wish Mark the very best, Audie and Scotty the very, very best, and Brigitte Kendall the very best. I have nothing bad, against them. Wish him the best. Even Mitch, I'm happy he's got the gig. It's not his fault. He just got hired because they didn't do it. So, yeah, it's not his fault.
I'm assuming you haven't spoke to anyone in Great White since the email?
No. Brigitte Kendall was kind to send me a message when my stepdad passed away of COVID a few months ago. She sent me a nice message. sent me flowers, and I was courteous to reply and say thank you so much, very kind of you guys, and that was it. It's the only time we spoke. We haven't spoken, and it's a bit awkward, it's a bit awkward. But again, I have no animosity. I had great for almost 9 years. I had a great time. I made a lot of money. I met a lot of great fans. I wrote some great songs, and I elevated my career. And people saw me through with a different band and everything. So for me, it's all positive. I don't have anything negative to say. Even if I'm like inside, I'm like burning. I'm like, wow, I can't believe you did that to me. After the martial artist in me would say, shut up, breathe, and it is what it is. You have to move on.
Yeah, and I think you took the high road. You didn't go out and bash those guys. Of course, people watch these interviews. They want to hear what happened. It is an interesting story, to suddenly get an email and people want to hear about it. But you still, you're not bashing those guys. I found their reasoning a little interesting because they said that they wanted to get back to the classic sound and they wanted to sound maybe more like Jack or that kind of performer. That's strange to me after that many years to make that decision, and also that they've done so well at rebuilding the brand, not being the nostalgic thing completely, doing something different. So I think maybe personalities start to change, people get tired of each other, this and that, and something comes along. And so because 2017, you put it out on an album, and then you ask the guy to leave in 2018. Seems like a strange way to promote a record. Do you feel like that record just sort of gets buried then at that point?
The album, Full Circle, was a great album. Had so many great reviews. People said it was the best album since the heydays was Jack. I mean, 1989, 88, when he was at his top of his game. So
and that's a Michael Wagner record too, right?
Yeah. People say it was a great album, great sounding album, great songs. The heydays of if a band wants to go back to the heydays of the band, they have to hire the original singer. Put it this way.
Sure.
There's only one guy who can sing like Jack Russell. That's Jack Russell. And he's the voice of Great White. He's the one he's always been the voice of Great White. I was a replacement. I did my best. And I'm grateful for the fans and everything. And but I'm Terry Ilous. I say that in a humble way, but I am who I am. You know what I mean? It's like replacing, like you're a marriage. There's a marriage, and you're the new wife or the new husband. You are who you are. You know what I mean? You're not gonna dye your hair blonde just because somebody else was the previous wife or husband was blonde. The fact that they wanted to go back to the original sound, well, you be the judge of that. I don't think Mitch sound anything like Jack. Or Mitch is a good singer, but he's not a blues singer. You have to have the blues. The blues is just, you have to, I don't know, man. Blues is pain, my friend. The ghetto. That's where you're from. The ghetto. You can't just, if you grew up in Beverly Hills, you're not going to sing the blues. I tell you that right now.
Now, you performed with Jack not too long ago, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure, business is business and coincidence is but it had to feel good.
It was. I was surprised when I got fired, when Jack actually said so many great things about me. I had no idea he liked my voice, because him and I really didn't talk much, and I kind of avoided any situations when people were mentioning his name. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna say anything. I wanted to be courteous. I wanted to be respectful. I wanted to respect Great White, the brand, and Jack as well, and the fans. So I didn't want to be even when people were comparing me, oh, Jack is better than you, or you're better than Jack, whatever, I always said, no, nobody's better than nobody. Nobody's better than, it's just a matter of sound, that's all. And to this day, I still believe that. But anyway, Jack said so many great things about me. I was surprised. So he contacted me and said, hey, so one day I replied, I said, thank you for saying so many great things about me. I'm really touched. I didn't know you liked my voice as much as I like your voice. And then we started talking about things, and I told him, I said, let's keep things positive. Let's not go back and say bad things about Great White, because I don't want to say anything bad about the band. I don't. Again, I keep saying the same thing. I wish him the very best. anyway, and then we did some shows, Jack and I together, and that was interesting because we did a show one day when people were donating money for the fun of it, and we raised so much money. I mean, it was ridiculous.
It's interesting from a marketing standpoint. It's an interesting angle, to see you guys. One of the interesting things that I don't know if Great White fans realize is that Jack and Mark's issues were not. They really weren't a fighting band. They weren't. They couldn't make it work, but they weren't the kind of band that was fighting every day. Sometimes you hear these stories. So yeah, maybe they'll never play together or it couldn't work out, but it wasn't like a constant, fighting and bad mouthing type of thing.
I think the band was going through, like a lot of bands. Now, I cannot say for sure because I wasn't there, but I've heard that the band was doing a lot of drugs, drinking, and that stuff. Everybody in the band was doing that, not just one element. So, and I'm not exactly sure because I wasn't there, and I have I have the utmost respect for what they did and for each member of the band. And their manager, let's not forget that they had an incredible management company. Alan Niven was a great manager, fantastic manager. I wish I had a manager like that in my career. And I wish someone like him upon all the artists out there. Alan Niven is a creator. He had a vision. He signed Guns N' Roses. He signed Great White and other bands. Alan Niven is one of a kind. So I met him a few times. He was always courteous and polite.
I went to I was doing some stuff with you guys in Arizona with Great White, and that's where he lived. He came to the show, and it's very cool to see, the guy who wrote the majority of those songs, other than, Ian Hunter, who wrote the biggest.
Great White song, yeah. Alan Niven actually wrote, according to what I've been told. Alan Niven pretty much wrote the big hits and everything for the band, and I think they know about it and they're grateful about it. Alan Niven is just a great manager, songwriter, and I have the utmost respect for him.
Yeah, for sure, and it helps being a songwriter and do the things that he does. Sure, helps him be a manager. It's easy to tell people to do things and try things when you're willing to do them yourself. So let's do what the most important thing we got to do. We got to sell a record. So
yes,
people wanted to hear Great White stories. You told them, you didn't hold back. Hired Gun right here. So this is the new record you're promoting, and I want you to explain it a little bit because I listened to it last night. This is a really entertaining record. The hardest thing about doing this, Terry, is I interview people every day of the week, and occasionally people say, listen to my record. And the hardest thing for me is, wow, what if this record sucks? And in which case, then I just ask questions and sort of go, yeah. But in this, and I've been fortunate, though. There are people making some good music right now. But I really did enjoy this. And I think what I enjoyed about it is this is not just it's not just another rock album. It's not trying to be a retro album, and it has a cinematic element to it also. Almost like theater at times. But I don't want to chase people away because it's a rock album, and so I was reading up about it, and it's a little hard to explain because it's a you've sang for so many bands. You've been hired to do these gigs, and this is a compilation of some of those songs. So you explain to us exactly what this record is.
Well, thank you very much, Jason. Sometimes bands don't have a singer, or sometimes they need a different songwriter or co-writer. So I've been fortunate to be hired by a lot of artists who said, hey, can you write a song for me, or can you do this or that? So basically what I did, this album is basically compilations of songs I have co-written for a lot of different artists. I sang on these tracks and decided to, with their permission, ask to release those particular songs, and I'm pretty proud of it. Some of the songs are more 80s sounding in a bit because the artist wanted something very 80s, and some of the songs were a little bit more borderline funky. For example, when I worked with Marco Mendoza, bass player, and Steve Soludo and Atma Noor, we did an album called La Famiglia Superstar. It was borderline funky because Steve is a Steve Saludo is a funky guitarist, great guitarist.
It has a very 70s, Shaft kind of feel.
That's right. He's got that thing. And of course you got Marco Mendoza on bass, who, is an amazing artist, went into this funk thing. And the drummer is actually used to be the drummer for Stevie Wonder. So he's got that beat, he's got that rhythm that is different. So when I co-wrote the song, I co-wrote the song with Stefano. Stefano wanted something more funky. So, okay, you got it. 70s, you got it. So we did that. When I wrote the song for Bridger said, I want something rock, but not too 80s. Okay, so him and J.K. Northrop, we wrote a bunch of songs that were borderline pop rock. And then Dwayne Morano wanted something more rock 80s. I wrote that for him. But I have other songs. I'm a songwriter. I write songs all the time. During the pandemic, I wrote 40 songs, songs that will be published, left and right, movies. And I'm a ghostwriter on a lot of different projects. My name is not mentioned, but I wrote the songs. It's the way it is. You get paid and you shut up. It's okay. I don't have a problem with that. So I'm a songwriter. I like to write music. I like to sing. And if I'm being quiet, if I'm just a ghostwriter, no problem. So it's a compilation of so many songs. This one, so many songs I have written or co-written for all these great artists. And
they go well together, though. That's the thing. If you didn't know that this was a compilation for different artists, you would just think it's a great record. And so I want to mention that there's links below in the description. So anyone who wants to buy, click it on. It helps support the channel. It helps support Terry. It helps support rock and roll music. They're also on YouTube, so you can listen to the album. Now
I have another album coming out after that in a few months. I wrote an album. I co-wrote an album with my friend J.K. Northrop. I wrote the music and J.K. wrote the lyrics this time around. And one song was actually co-written with a friend of mine named Jeff Paris. And some of the other songs were written by different songwriters. But I wrote an album for Frontiers. It's coming out I think it's sometime around July. The album was produced by a great producer named Fabrizio Grossi, Italian guy. And it was a great experience working with Fabrizio. Fabrizio is what great producer, great songwriter, bass player, and he's Italian. So all we did is when we got together, we talked about food and soccer and nothing else. And then oh, dude, we need to record something. Okay, let's go back and record something real fast. So the takes were 3 takes. That we're done. We combined those takes, and that's it. See you, bye. But all the time, what we did is drink coffee and talk about Italy or France or politics. We didn't record much, but we had such a great time. I mean, it was an amazing time. So really cool.
Well, you're always working. I'm sure that there's bands out there that, and I don't know if you'd ever want to step into that role again, but you probably would. You're a working musician, but I'm sure there's bands out there that go, hey, this guy did pretty good for Great White. We need somebody. Lineups are changing constantly. So I'm sure you're on the minds of a lot of musicians. Right now is a kind of nothing happening.
Well, I'll be happy to work with whomever wants to hire me and respect the songs and the artists. But ultimately, I want to do my own thing. I'm working on a Las Vegas show. I told you a while ago when we met years ago, I was working on this particular show, which is interesting because just before the pandemic, I was asked to do a residency in Las Vegas at a hotel with the band, with my Latin band. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. 3 nights a week. And the pandemic happened. So everything got canceled, shut down. So I'm back to square one right now. So
and you also had some plans. I think you were going to do a cruise kind of thing with Greg D'Angelo, right?
Yeah, well, yes, I forgot. Yeah, I've known Greg for 30-something years. We're really good friends, and we put a band together called Monsters of Classic Rock, but we changed the name recently to Legends of Classic Rock, so we don't have an issue with Monsters of Classic Rock, the cruise.
Right.
Larry in Holland are on the name, and we don't want to piss them off, so we changed the name, and it's myself singing, Greg D'Angelo on drums, and Kevin Jones on keys, who used to play with Ozzy, and Sean McNabb on bass, and
he was also in Grey White at one point.
Yeah, he was in Great White. He was in Dawkins. He was in Lynch Mob, Quiet Riot. And Danny Johnson on guitar. Danny was the guitar player for Steppenwolf. So we do cruises, big cruises. We had 65 shows lined up. Playing in the big theater down there. You know, I don't know if you've been on a cruise, but those big cruises where they have 5 or 6 passengers, down there, there's a big theater that holds about 2,000 seaters. And we started doing shows for them, big production, lots of lights and everything. And we had a contract for about 60-something shows a year, and then the pandemic happened. So we're back to square one. We have a great agent, and we're waiting for the cruises, for cruise line to open, but it looks like we're going to be doing shows again sometimes July, August, most likely.
Yeah, which is great. And I'm going to put a link to your website so that people can catch up on all this. But this is a great time to listen to music. I say it all the time. People, if you're home, new music.
No, we talked about me, Jason. Let's talk about you. What have you been up to? People want to know. People want to know what you've been up to for the last 2 years. So Jason Green, tell me what happened to you the last 2 years. Last time I saw you, what happened to you, Jason Green?
I feel like you're setting yourself up for a YouTube podcast.
Yes. Go ahead.
I just sit in front of this screen every day and talk to all my cool friends. And I'm lucky to do this. But for me, this has been a great thing. And Terry, you know, everybody has one of these YouTube podcasts, and some of them are good and some of them are bad and some of them are really, really bad. And you know, when you get interviewed by somebody who has no idea who you are. I watched one of you the other night.
Oh,
an older woman here in Las Vegas.
I know which one you're talking about.
And she tells you that I have no idea who you are, and that's why this is going to be a better interview. And that could work, but it was not. It didn't.
The funny thing about it, and I'm glad you mentioned that she's from Las Vegas, and God bless her. But I was surprised when she told me that, because I drove all the way to Las Vegas to meet with her. Okay, somebody hooked me up with her. Said, "Hey, there's a lady that wants to interview you on TV. She's got a TV show and everything." Okay, great. So I arrive, and she said, "And next gentleman." And she's looking at me. I'm thinking, what the heck? And I see all these people I've never heard of. I'm like, okay. And she said, "Sit down here, gentlemen." So I sit down. She said, "So what is your name?" And I'm like, "I'm Terry Ilous." And she's like, "And what do you do for a living?" I'm like, Are you kidding me? You know, but I was polite. I played along. You know, I was grateful to be on TV, and you know, not every you have a great podcast. You see, the thing is, you did your homework. You listened to my CD, you know about my career, and you do the same when you interview other artists. And that's very respectful of you, Jason. I really appreciate that, because and that's why your podcast is going to be a success, because you do your homework. And we musicians, we artists, we appreciate that very much so.
I think that the people who watch this, and I'm very grateful for them, we have 250,000 views in 2 months, which is crazy. Yeah. And so, but they like these conversations because it is, they get to be a fly on the wall and hear conversations about music, and we talk openly. It's not I'm not trying to shock people and get, blabbermouth headlines, although that, that goes with this sometimes, and that's fine. Press is press, and I'm happy when people tune in. But I think that people like to see these conversations, and it's great for me to catch up with people that I know. I've always wanted to do this, so for me, it wasn't something.
Really? Wow.
I wanted to be a broadcaster. I went to school for it. I worked for Geraldo in New York, and
so, how was that?
That was great. It was the best college you could ever have. Is actually doing things.
Were you there when you get punched in the nose?
I was right after, and so they didn't have a studio. The studio was trashed, so we had to go out and film right in Central Park and South Street Seaport, but he was great, and he gave amazing advice, and so I've always wanted to do this, but other things, just got in the way. So I think a lot of people are doing these as cash grabs, Terry. You know what I mean? Oh shit, I'm stuck at home. I can't play shows. I'll just interview people in my living room, which is what I'm doing. But I think that people can see, just as music.
Now, do you still do shows? I know you used to organize a bunch of shows and things. Do you still do that as well?
So I still handle, Sin City Sinners, which was something I put together 14 years ago. But it's Vegas is not completely open yet, so it doesn't make too much sense to put it out there. I have my punk band, Sin City Rejects, that I play with.
Oh, I didn't know that. What do you play?
Yeah, I play bass.
Oh, wow. I had no idea.
Well, you know what happened? I managed these jerks my whole life. I said, I want to be the jerk now. And people go, well, he can't do. So I said, I'll do that too. I'll manage the band. I'll write the songs. I'll play the bass. I'll do the podcast. Why not? I'll do a little everything. And if I do any of it good, that's good too. But so we played through a bunch of the pandemic, and it got to the point, Terry, where it didn't make sense. People were getting sick. The audiences were divided about who should wear a mask and who shouldn't, and politics. And it just got to the point where maybe we should stay home for a little while.
So what's happening in Vegas right now? There's no shows. There's no.
Well, it's getting better. They are opening here. Vegas has done very well with their vaccination rate. I know. They move faster than most places, and but things change all the time. But there are outdoor shows happening here that are sort of distanced. I don't know how they're doing, but they have started, and they're saying that some of these residencies, I think Sting is one of them, will come back later in the year, and some of the shows are distancing. They're selling spots to space it out. So we'll see. Hopefully, sooner than later, things will.
I mean, it's a really the pandemic is such a tragedy. I mean, it just took everybody by surprise. But it changed everything. It changed the way I don't think we're ever going to go back to what they used to call normal. I don't think so. I think people are dreaming.
Yes.
In a way, I think we went crazy. And that's nothing to do with going to a show, for example. But I'm kind of glad that when I go somewhere on a plane, and I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people or whatever, but I'm kind of glad for health reason that when I go to a supermarket, people wear a mask. I'm kind of glad about that. I'm kind of glad that people use hand sanitizer when they touch fruit before touching fruits or whatever. For that particular reason, I'm kind of glad, because before that, you would go and stand in line, and the guy in front of you would sneeze and you talk to you in the face, and you can get all the germs you want. So it's a good thing that nowadays we wear a mask when we go to a market, and think now, do we have to wear a mask all the time? I cannot answer that question, that's for sure, and I'm not going to get into politics. But I'm saying that things will change forever. I mean, I don't think we'll go back to what we used to call normal. I don't think so.
I agree with you. And don't you think that the distance to wait online now at the bank or at the supermarket is a good thing? Why do we all need to be on top of each other? There's nothing worse than being in the line with someone sneezing on you. Let's stay separate. Let's keep the hand sanitizer out. We've all shook enough hands. I think, the pandemic aside, just the flu and everything else, let's practice better hygiene.
Yeah, we need to practice. And this conversation right now is not about whether the vaccines or you should be vaccinated or whatever. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just saying, and I agree with you. Social distancing is actually a good thing. Why do I want to be next to somebody who's just going to sneeze, who got the flu, or who's got whatever he's got? You know what I mean? It's just like, why do I want to do that? So I don't have a problem in taking, few meters away. Hey, no problem with me. It's fine, and not shaking somebody's hand, no problem with that. It's just hygiene stuff. I think a lot of people forgot about that. You go to, when you buy fruits, you go to the supermarket, people touch the fruits, you don't know where their hands have been. Most of the people go to the restroom and they don't wash their hands, and just, I'm like, really? So I think this is a good thing. Now, unfortunately, the pandemic, we lost a lot of people, and I'm not going to talk about whether it's a true thing, it's a hoax or whatever. I'm not going to say anything about that. But I can say that I lost my stepdad due to COVID. So, and I've lost some friends due to COVID. Now, it's a sad thing when you see somebody you love dying in front of you. So
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a tough time, but I agree with you. Things won't be that normal. The other issue is that are people so used to being at home? Are they ready to go to see concerts and things? Entertainment's been free. Movies are free. Everything's right on your TV. So I personally think people will be excited to go out when the time comes.
of course,
And
I can't wait to play. I have to tell you, Jason, I can't. In fact, I'm going to come to Las Vegas to do business and hopefully reenact my connection, so I can do a small residency in Las Vegas with my Latin band. But that's one thing I want to do. But I'm looking forward to touring again. I'm looking forward to seeing just the amazing feeling of singing in front of the fans. You know what I mean? Having this reaction. Hey, I love being here and singing. Hey, I can sing you a song right now. It's so much fun. There's nothing better than feeling the vibe from the audience. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so cool,
Well, it's who you are. And so you spend your life doing that, and then to have it taken away is a bit of a shock.
Yeah, but same token, I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful you are alive. I'm grateful a lot of my friends are alive, my fans. We went through one very difficult year. Let's face it. 2020 was a disaster for everybody. Lost a lot of money. Some people made a lot of money. Amazon made a lot of money. Netflix made a lot of money, but the majority of people lost a lot of money. Most of my peers, my artist friends, lost a fortune. I lost a lot of money. I have to tell you that. I didn't work. I don't get unemployment. I get tons of lost a lot of money in 2020, and so far 2021 is not getting any better. So but you have to think positive, and you have to be grateful to be alive, grateful to get maybe another chance, and stay humble.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Terry, I'm really glad you spent a little time with us, wasted a little time with us. I think people learned a lot. And again, I want to make sure that people go down into the description, go to Terry's website, which is also linked, and listen to some new music. I think you'll really enjoy it. And you can listen to the Great White records and the XYZ records too. It's a good time to hear music.
Yeah, Great White. I hope people are gonna listen to XYZ, Great White, of course. And keep. I wish you the best, Jason. You're a good guy. You're a great guy, and I hope you and I will be working together.
Terry, thank you for joining me. We'll hopefully going to catch up again real soon.
You be well. Take care. Bye.